This regular meeting of the Board of Mayor and Aldermen for April 21st, 2015 will come to order. I'll ask everyone to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. All right, we have a very special item on our agenda tonight, item 1.2, which is the administration of the oath of office to the new police officers, and we're proud to have. And Chief Thompson, do you want to say something about this? And then I believe our city recorder will do the swearing in or swearing at, or however it's supposed to be.
All right, Brian, we'll step on up. This is Brian Richards. We'll get him sworn in just a moment. We are very fortunate to have him homegrown. He's from Robertson County.
Good name.
He had moved away. He's got a master's degree in criminal justice. He's got a bachelor's degree. He was working as a police officer in Chattanooga and wanted to come home. And we're glad to have him home, and he's in our field training program right now, but we have high hopes for him. We're very proud to have him here and have him come on board with us.
All right, we're glad to hear that. Brian, we welcome you. Our city recorder, Lisa Crockett, will administer the oath.
I, Brian Richards.
I, Brian Richards.
Having been appointed as the police officer for the city of Springfield, Tennessee.
Having been appointed
As a police officer for the city of the Springfield, Tennessee.
for the city of the Springfield, Tennessee.
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution
Do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and the state of Tennessee,
and the state of Tennessee,
and the charter and ordinances
and the charter and ordinances
of the city of Springfield,
of the city of Springfield,
and that I will faithfully perform
and that I will faithfully perform
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
to which I have been appointed
to which I have been appointed
to the best of my skill and ability,
to the best of my skill and ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
On my honor,
On my honor,
I will never betray my badge,
I will never betray my badge,
my integrity, my character,
my integrity, my character,
or the public trust.
or the public trust.
I will always have the courage
I will always have the courage
to hold myself and others
to hold myself and others
accountable for our actions.
accountable for our actions.
I will always uphold the Constitution,
I will always uphold the Constitution,
my community,
my community,
and the agency I serve.
and the agency I serve.
Congratulations.
Item 1.3 is approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of March 17th and the special meeting of March 31st. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Those in favor of the approval of the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. So ordered. Now we move into the legislative portion of the agenda, and the first item here is a third and final reading on ordinance 15-03. This amends our annual budget for the fiscal year 2015 by amending certain general fund and utility fund budgets. Is there a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Now, any discussion? Hearing none, I'll ask. Excuse me. Go ahead.
Mayor, I did want to point out the fact that there is an amendment to this on third reading. It is a budget ordinance, therefore can be amended on third reading. You have a summary memo from me in the front, and then you have the existing. If you scroll up or scroll down, you will have the existing ordinance as approved on second reading on March 17th. And you can see that the Exhibit A is relatively brief. Now, what I would like to request is that the ordinance be amended on third reading, and if you scroll down just further, you'll see ordinance 15-03 Exhibit A amended, and there are a few items on there that have been added. The first item, as you know, last week, at the last meeting, we talked about scoreboards and the soft drink bid. What I've done is I've added a $20,000 line item for vendor marketing. That's the $20,000 that Coke paid us, and that's going to change the general fund balance, revenue balance, to a total of now $70,197. You will see the expenditure for that $20,000 under Parks and Recreation scoreboards, where there was nothing budgeted. Now there's $20,000. So that will change the expenditures in Parks and Recreation by $20,000. And the total general fund expenditures will change revenue and expenditures, $70,197 will be increased. Then if you go down to electric department, we originally were going to spend $200,000 on the bucket truck, 55-foot bucket truck. The board awarded that, came in less at $165,890. And the board also authorized out of the savings to buy a pickup truck for $25,906. So it actually netted out total expenditures to the electric fund actually are $8,204 less. And then the note proceeds, we didn't have to borrow the full $200,000, so they decreased by $8,204. So revenue and expenditures are net, each went down $8,204. Then in the water operating fund, I'm afraid that this is just a cleanup. This is what happens when you get in a hurry. Usually the capital outlay numbers are smaller than the capital improvement numbers, and I accidentally transferred money from depreciation into capital improvement and increased it by $11,644, where it really should have been put in capital outlay, and increasing that from $228,172 to $239,816. So it's just it's a net zero change, just making sure that the right accounts are credited with the depreciation revenue. So, Mayor, that's all I have. So I think if the board agrees with the amendments, that there'd be a vote first taken on the amendment to amend, and then a second vote to approve.
All right. You have already a motion and a second on the ordinance as a whole. Now we're seeking an amendment as outlined by Mr. Nutting. Would someone want to make a motion on that amendment?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion
All right.
to
Is there a
amend.
second to the amendment?
Second.
Duly seconded. Any discussion on the amendment? Hearing none, then we'll go ahead and vote on the amendment. In favor of the amendment, vote aye when your name is called. If you are opposed, vote no. Ms. Conlon?
Head,
Yes.
Carneal,
Aye.
Snyder.
Aye.
Trotter.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Gregg.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
All right, now we're back on the main motion. Any discussion on the main motion? Please call the roll on the main motion.
Snyder.
Aye.
Carneal.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Trotter.
Aye.
Gregg.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
All right, we move now to item 2.2 under legislative, and that'll be to consider ordinance 15-04. This being a first reading, it is required that our city clerk, Connie Watson, read this proposal in its entirety.
Ordinance 15-04, an ordinance amending the City of Springfield zoning ordinance regulating building sign design and installation within the corporate limits of Springfield, Tennessee, to provide consistent signage regulations to allow reasonable property and building identification to facilitate the creation of an attractive and harmonious community, to protect property values, and to further economic development. Whereas the legislature of the state of Tennessee has, in sections 13-7-201 through 13-7-210, Tennessee Code annotated, delegated the responsibility to local governmental units to adopt regulations designed to promote the public health, safety, and general welfare of its citizens. The Springfield zoning ordinance defines the purpose of the city's comprehensive sign planned is to create a uniform, easily understood, and very defined set of standards controlling all exterior signage to protect the general public health, safety, convenience, and welfare, to reduce traffic hazards caused by unregulated signs which may distract, confuse, and impair the visibility of motorists and pedestrians. Whereas the 8 proposed sign ordinance amendments are to incorporate building projecting sign types into multiple sections of the sign ordinance and to provide consistent wall sign calculation criteria and increase maximum wall sign area for office and industrial centers. Whereas the City of Springfield Planning Commission has reviewed these proposed ordinance amendments on April 2nd, 2015, and recommends their passage. Now therefore be it ordained by the Board of Mayor and Aldermen of Springfield, Tennessee as follows. Section 1, the City of Springfield Zoning Ordinance, Chapter 8, entitled Supplementary District Regulations, Section 11-808, Sign Regulations for Springfield, City of Springfield, is hereby amended by rescinding certain sections or paragraphs in their entirety and substituting new sections or paragraphs to read as set forth in Exhibit A attached. Section 2, in case of conflict between this ordinance or any part thereof and the whole or part of any existing or future ordinance of City Springfield, Tennessee, the most restrictive shall in all cases apply. Section 3, if any section, clause, provision, or portion of this ordinance shall be held to be invalid or unconstitutional by any court of competent jurisdiction, such holding shall not affect any other section, clause, provision, or portion of this ordinance which is not of itself invalid or unconstitutional. Section 4, this ordinance shall become effective immediately after its passage in accordance with the Charter of City of Springfield, Tennessee, the public welfare demanding it.
All right, you've heard the reading of the ordinance 1504. Is there a motion this be approved?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Now, any discussion? Paul?
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to make sure the board had a chance to review this. You've got the memorandum from Adam McCormick that specifies what he's going to recommend. There are 8 amendments, and Adam, behind that memorandum, specifically showed you the existing wording, how it was going to be modified. And so hope that was helpful. Adam is here to answer any questions, but I did want to, if you continue to scroll down, you actually see the amendment, the ordinance itself, which is actually a clean amendment. So it's just telling you what the exact changes are, and it incorporates the 8 amendments that Adam was explaining in his memorandum. So Adam is here if you have any questions.
Are there any questions of this on first reading?
One comment. We hashed this out in what, 2 meetings? About 2 meetings. So everyone's really pleased.
Referring to the Planning Commission.
Planning Commission.
All right, anything further before we vote? Please call the roll.
Gregg?
Aye.
Hubbard?
Aye.
Sneed?
Aye.
Snyder? Carneal?
Aye.
Trotter?
Aye.
Head?
Yes.
Pass 7-0.
Point 3 is Resolution 15-03. This would declare certain property items as surplus and authorizing the disposal of such property. Need a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Discussion now. Paul?
Thank you, Mayor. I know this is an extensive Exhibit A, but this is a full inventory of our first radio system that was retired 7 or 8 years ago, and want to have all that declared surplus. And then if you look at the very last page, we've got primarily computer equipment from various departments. I think that's page 15, and you get it here. You've got some equipment from the administration, community development, public works is declaring a dump truck surplus, gas department, water department, community development department, and finance department all have computer equipment that's being declared surplus.
All right, any discussion now? Please call the roll.
Carneal?
Aye.
Head?
Yes.
Sneed.
Aye.
Trotter.
Aye.
Snyder. Grigg. Hubbard.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
All right, we move to item 2.4, and this is Resolution 15-04, which would declare the city's intent to reimburse itself for certain expenditures related to public improvement projects with the proceeds of bonds or other debt obligations to be issued by the city in an approximate amount of $2.1 million. Is there a motion?
So moved.
And a second. Now, Paul, did you have any comment on that, please?
I did, thank you, Mayor. As you know, the city budgets to purchase things on capital outlay. It had an extensive list this year. We passed a prior resolution earlier in the year. We think we're actually going to spend closer to the budget. We were anticipating being a little bit under budget, but we decided to put $2,100,000 in because that's the full budget amount, and at least we'll be covered regardless of what the level is. So this is actually going to supersede a prior resolution. The first resolution had $1,800,000 in it, but the $2.1 million is actually what's budgeted.
All right, we have the motion and the second. Any discussion now? Please call the roll.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Snyder. Carneal.
Aye.
Sneed. Head.
Yes.
Grigg. Trotter.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
Okay. Resolution 15-05 is the topic for item 2.5. This would authorize the issuance, sale, and payment of up to $2.1 million of capital outlay notes for the city and levying appropriate taxes for the payment of those. That corresponds with that resolution just prior to it, 1504. Is there a motion?
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Any discussion?
Mayor.
Sir.
Thank you. I should have made it clear in the prior resolution that is the authority. We buy some of this equipment prior to borrowing the money, and that just allows us to reimburse ourselves legally. And then this next resolution is to actually borrow the money.
Anything further? Please call the roll on 2.5.
Trotter.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Carneal.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Grigg.
Aye.
Snyder. Pass 7-0.
Okay, we move now to the first item under administrative, the administrative section. This would be the monthly consideration or adjustment of retail electric rates by Springfield Electric due to the monthly wholesale fuel cost adjustment by Tennessee Valley Authority, which provides us with electricity. Mr. Gardner, you have good news for us tonight.
I do. We're going down 1% this month.
Well, you know Greg Riddle is taking credit for this, gas too, because he said he's done so well lowering his rates that you had to do something tonight. Was that it?
No, that's not.
That's not it. Okay. Robert, would you mind coming to the mic just a moment and letting the public know, both those who are here and those who will be watching on cable television, et cetera, the percentage of our electric budget that, or for every dollar that you take in, how much does TVA get, the percentage, please?
Currently, we spend about 88 cents out of every dollar for our power cost to TVA.
So we operate on 12% and they have 88%.
That's correct.
Okay. So you see, when they make a monthly adjustment, we have to correspondingly do that, make the similar adjustment, or we wouldn't long be in business. So they are operating, not quarreling with them, although we don't always agree with what they do. This is the price of getting electricity, but we do operate the system on 12%.
Right.
So thank you very much. Is there a motion?
I would happily
Happily.
move to accept.
Do I have a happy second? Too?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? Call the roll, please.
Snyder. Carneal.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Sneed. Head.
Yes.
Trotter.
Aye.
Grigg.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
Okay, at the top of your second page, 3.2 will be similar action on the monthly adjustment of gas rates for Springfield Gas. Greg Riddle, would you Got
Down 3.98%.
down
I
3.
don't know, it just, I keep thinking it's gonna hit bottom, but, you know, gas is selling in the 290 range right now, so
That's
it's gonna
key.
go back up. It's just a matter of when. But
Right.
we're fortunate that we're taking advantage of these low rates right now.
That's exactly right. All right.
Move for
Anybody want to make another happy motion?
I'll make it happen.
All right, now the second.
Second.
Any discussion? Call the roll, please, Ms. Connie.
Head,
Yes.
Carnell,
Aye.
Snyder. Trotter.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Gregg.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
That's 7-0.
Okay, now 3.3 would discuss and possibly act on a change order from the gas department to reduce the original amount of the contract with Bush Construction for the Highway 431 South gas line relocation project. Is there a motion this be considered?
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Greg, do you want to explain this, or?
Yeah, it was just it was a change order. It was a small change order. It reduced it by $730. It was a way that we could reconfigure the valves and not have to do a couple of hot taps.
Okay.
Just a small change on this particular one.
All right, is there any discussion on this? Okay, call the roll, please.
Gregg.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Sneed. Snyder. Carnell.
Aye.
Trotter.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
That's 7-0.
All right, your next item is 3.4. This is to discuss and possibly act on the customer's request for an additional adjustment due to a water leak, and this adjustment that's being requested is in excess of the city's normal policy for such situations. Paul, you want to explain that before I get a motion?
Thank you, Mayor. Basically, the gentleman lives out of town. He just basically acquired the house, recently acquired it, but lives in Memphis. And I think this leak occurred near a barn area.
Yes, that's correct.
And it's a lot of water. It's 447,000 gallons, so that's almost the amount of water in the Mount Denson tank out in the North Industrial Park.
Over how long a period?
Well, it's been, I don't think he really knows.
Well, his service was turned on 2/18, and when we went to read the meter on 3/20, that's when they discovered that his meter was just constantly running. So our crew turned the water off, and then
30 days.
Our customer service supervisor, Terry, called him out of town to let him know that there was a leak,
So on these things, we ask them to fix the leak, and we discount them 25%, but most of these leaks aren't 447,000. So as an option, I mean, if you wanted to, you could give them extra time to pay, or you just charge them the wholesale price of water, or, ask staff to go back and figure out something that is reasonable. I guess we're open to what the board's suggestion is.
All right, you want to say for the benefit of the public the amount that this bill consists of?
Let's see, it was $2,251.04. Is that the original
that's
one, Lisa?
correct, yes.
Okay. And our policy would be,
25%, and that amount was $562.77, so we've already applied to his bill.
Applied that.
Since he's repaired the leak.
okay, so the difference is about, what, 1,700?
Yeah, around $1,700.
All right. Is there a motion this be considered? Let's do that first.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, what's your thoughts?
Got him.
Bruce?
For the record, had a similar situation that I just paid. It's property owned out of town, underground water leak. I had a 300,000 gallon water bill that I just paid. That's my comment.
You got a 25%.
I got a 25% reduction. Thank you to the city.
I got you. Clay?
This February 18th, that was when the temperature was getting very low. The Nashville airport was shut down. We were having some very unusually cold weather that week. If I lived out of town and I had property that was in an area that was getting that cold, you'd have to think somebody need to check on something about popping, especially if you live out of town, you bought this to flip or for rental property or for sentimental reason, whatever the reason why. I'd say you might look at your homeowner's insurance and see what they can do about it.
Any other comments, Mr. Jeff? We're going to take a vote in a minute, but I just want to get the feel of the group.
What is the wholesale rate, if we were looking at that?
It's $2.99 per thousand. So calculate it out. That bill would be $1,336.83.
Mr. Mayor.
The bottom.
So they're accepting every May 4th, 21.
From time to time we consider them individually and try to be as fair as we can. There are some radically different situations.
I don't recall any of these we've approved before.
I think we have.
We have.
I think we have.
There was a
talked about
disabled
it.
gentleman in the past year that had a smaller bill.
I
But
kinda
these
looked at this
numbers
when we talked about
are higher than any that I recall. I will say that. But it matters.
Due to the inclement weather, which it could have happened to anyone in Mission, even if it was in the area, it could have happened. I think that 25% reduction is fair. So I support the 16.
Any other comments down this way?
I could go for the wholesale rate of $2.99.
All right, if you did that, the additional reduction would be how much, Lisa?
About $500.
About $300 more, because the bill right now is at $16.88, and you're talking $13.36. So yeah, I guess you're about
We'd be helping about how much more?
It's about $300, $350 more off.
Okay.
I'll go.
All right.
Give him a break.
You're going to make that, we put this on, his request, is there a specific amount he's requesting?
No.
All right, the amount then that the maker, are you the maker of the motion?
I'm gonna make it a motion, and what was your amount?
Okay,
13 and
so
13?
So it's $465.
Okay.
You're going from $17.95 to $13.30.
I was looking at, the bill is $1688.27 currently. That's got his, I think that's got his electric or gas or something is in that number that you're looking at.
So,
Only the water portion of his bill
I
currently,
see.
after the 25%, is $1688.27.
Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
And the wholesale cost is $1336.83.
I see.
okay, so to make it a motion.
You're going for the 1336?
I'll go with the wholesale.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Clay,
I know in the past when people have requested, there was particular lack of means to be able to pay for this. Is there anything submitted that there's a lack of means to pay for this?
Not that I'm aware of.
Answer is no. All right, does the seconder of the motion agree with what, do you have actually, we have, who seconded it? Bobby, did you agree with what he is saying on the main motion?
Oh, no, I didn't get it.
Are you, tell him what you.
Okay, I agreed to go with the wholesale 1330 instead of the,
$1336.83.
1336 instead of the 1688. Factor in inclement weather, factor in a bereavement situation, factor in this man is long distance, hasn't come and really assumed this, so show a little compassion like that.
Was he out of town for
He was out of town, and he inherited his property from Mr. Cowles, who died a couple months ago. So we have bereavement, inclement weather, and being out of town, all those factors, and you want to have a little heart on it.
So what I'm asking, Bobby, you don't have to second that if you don't want to, but you had seconded the motion to consider this. Since he was the maker, he is now saying his answer to this gentleman is the 1,300 figure. Do you agree to second that? Did he say yes?
Think about it.
Well, let me just ask, is there a seconder of this motion? We can do it that way.
Second.
Okay. Now, any further discussion before we vote?
What's the motion?
The motion is to charge the gentleman $1,336.83.
Factoring in.
Instead of
1688.
Instead of 16.
Factoring in bereavement, factoring in inclement weather, factoring in the fact that he's in Memphis and he had to come up here, so having some consideration.
Let's get
That's the
something clear.
wholesale amount.
There's no bereavement here. The gentleman died months ago.
Well, but see, he had to inherit all
It's
this
not like
proper
that.
transition.
That's not like he was attending out-of-town funeral.
All right.
This was
Okay.
months ago.
But
All right.
this is a bereavement, that's all a bereaved situation, is what I'm trying to say, so we hear.
All right, has everybody had a chance to say what they want to say before I call the roll here in a minute? Hearing nothing else, Connie, will you call the roll?
Carnell,
Aye.
Head,
No.
Sneed,
No.
Trotter,
Dang.
Snyder,
Aye.
Gregg,
No.
Hubbard,
Aye.
3 yes, 3 no, and 1 abstain.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor.
Fails. Sir?
Point of order. When someone abstains, they have to specify their particular
They definitely have to.
conflict of interest.
That can be one reason, but that's not the only reason, is there, city attorney?
It's not? Okay. Stand
So
corrected.
it's his prerogative, we just don't want to entertain
All
that
right,
issue.
the point is the motion failed. All right. Now, we go to 3.5 and discuss and possibly act on a request from Public Works to post a no-through truck sign on First Avenue East between Memorial Boulevard and North Main Street. For those of you who are wondering exactly where that is, you're crossing the bridge on Memorial, North Memorial, over Sulphur Park. That would be to your left if you're going out of town. Goes up a steep hill to North Main. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
And is there any discussion? All right, hearing none, we'll take a vote.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Snyder, Carnell,
Aye.
Sneed,
Aye.
Head,
Yes.
Gregg,
Aye.
Trotter,
All right.
pass 7-0.
All right, we now have in item 3.6, 3 parade applications from the Robertson County Chamber for the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Service, for Spirits of the South, and Taste of Country. Is there a motion?
A motion to accept all 3.
All right, is there a second to that?
Second.
Any discussion now?
One discussion, thank you all for honoring the Vietnam veterans, because I'm one.
Any further discussion, comment? Call the roll, please.
Trotter,
Aye.
Sneed,
Aye.
Carnell,
Aye.
Hubbard,
Aye.
Head,
Yes.
Gregg,
Aye.
Snyder,
Aye.
All right, 3.7. Excuse me.
You're fine.
7, no.
Yes, sir.
Discuss now in 3.7 and possibly take action on the demolition agreement between the city and the owner of the Royal Inn on Memorial at 16th Avenue. Adam McCormick, you as our codes director, you want to state what we're talking about here?
Yes, it's been as y'all have read in the papers and been involved, it's been a very lengthy process. Went to appeals several times through our Construction Board of Appeals. It was handled under our city slum clearance ordinance. The latest round, the owner and the owner's representative, they basically appealed the appeal from the building official's order, Mr. Mark Fields. Basically what they did, give them 30 days, but in the discussion to do that, there'd be a set amount of time to demolish all the structures on the site. I think there was some original discussion of 24, but I think what it come down to, within 18 months, the city would expect the rear 2-story building, which has been condemned, to be demolished. That'd be a minimum. Then we would possibly entertain an option for another 6 months for the 2 first-level buildings. The two first level buildings have not been condemned, like the rear building. There's a chance to see this whole property cleaned up. But it would be some additional time, as it would, take funds for the owner to reach that. So this agreement, Ms. Bartia on this, me and Mr. Fields, is basically summarizing kind of the actions, the history of it, majority of it. Then it talks about the 18-month, 6 months extension process.
And the owner is agreeable to this?
We met with him.
Yes. All right, thank you. All right, outline it one more time for us.
The gist of the agreement would be that he would have on the back two-story building, the one that's been condemned, that went through our slum clearance, they'd have 18 months.
Where the fire occurred?
Yes, to tear that thing off to the ground. We would then entertain possibly the possibility, give them 6 more months to tear down the single one-story. The goal would be that we wouldn't do the one-story, or we wouldn't give them the additional time if they hadn't done the two-story building. Now, this is all subject to the two-story building remaining, unused, unoccupied. If it was to catch on fire or something happened, then the demolition would have to come earlier.
Okay. So this is the agreement that both parties have reached at this point.
Yeah.
The owner nods his agreement, and you're recommending this on behalf of the city. All right. Does our attorney have any problems with any of this?
No.
Okay. All right, is there a motion?
Since it's in Ward 1, I move approval.
Second? Second?
Second.
All right, any discussion?
So this gets the whole property taken care of versus just tearing down the back part and leaving the front.
Ultimately, yes.
Is that right? Okay.
All right, let's call the roll, please.
Snyder. Carneal.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Trotter.
Aye.
Gregg.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
3.8 is to discuss and possibly act on an appointment to the beer board from Ward 5. Ward 5 representative is
Donald King.
Joe Donald. All right. You want to make that as a motion then?
I do. Yes, sir.
All right, is there a second? Duly seconded. Any other discussion on this matter before we vote? If you favor this appointment, vote aye. If you oppose, vote no.
Head.
Yes.
Carneal.
Aye.
Snyder. Trotter.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Gregg.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
All right, the next item would require action on our part as part of an interlocal agreement with the Robinson County Planning and Building Department for natural gas and plumbing inspections within the city utility service areas that are outside the municipal limits. All right, who wants to explain this, Paul?
Well, I'll start. The county is responsible for inspecting the buildings in the county. But we have an interest because we have gas system and water system inside the county. And we need
outside the county,
outside the city, in the county. And of course, we need to see certain connections and we need to inspect them. So there's been a little bit of a conflict about who's going to do what exactly. The county has initiated now a full inspection program that they didn't have before. And I'll let Adam kind of explain who's going to take responsibility for what.
Yes, if you remember, last November, we brought this up, something we've been working on for a while. There's been some change in leadership at the Roberts County Planning Office over there, so we've kind of been meeting with them and discussing this. But originally, last November, we had it set up where the city would basically do all the plumbing and gas inspections. I think that's right. This thing's been going on so many times. So that was the original agreement we had. We worked with the county. Said they changed over. No, I'm sorry, correction. They were going to do all the inspections. That was the mix-up. They were going to do it. They were having an inspector go through the process to get certified. And we met with them because, like Mr. Nutting said, they have the authority in the county to do their inspections. And we started talking more and more about gas. Had some issues come up, and the county's representatives basically said they want us to be able to inspect our own gas system. They still feel comfortable they can do plumbing, so that's this agreement that we would do the gas on all our gas system in the city and the county, and in the county, they would do plumbing. The one thing would be any non-residential plumbing in the county, we would still be involved of, because that's when backflow preventers are required. So we still would have permits and inspections on those cases, and they understand that. The permit process is a little tricky here. The county would do all the permits for plumbing. We would do the permits for gas.
All right, did you say, though, that, are you more or less swapping out on this? I mean, we're going to do
The gas. Mm-hmm.
both within the
everywhere,
city and across the county, wherever we serve.
True.
But with the plumbing, I understand they're going to do what's outside the city, but are they going to do what's in the city too?
No.
But in the buffer zone and beyond, they will.
And anything outside the city on our water service district, they would do. Now, that doesn't include if somebody building a church or a convenience market or anybody even putting irrigation systems in. Those require backflow preventers. In those cases, we also want to be involved, and they understand.
And the county understands?
Yes, and
okay.
It's just going to take coordination with us. I feel comfortable with the new director over there. We'll work out who will do the permits, how we'll insure it. Because they'll basically have to ensure our water tap fees are paid before they can permit it. And they're set to review this next week.
Okay. All right, thank you. Adam, is there a motion now?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Now, any discussion?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead, Mr. Sneed.
Is this going to come, what issues have arisen that caused what the mayor described as a conflict? Why are we making a customer having to go to the county who's, you said, was capable of doing this? Now we're going to make that customer have to seek a trip to find someone and pay someone, another entity, to do something else. What I'm trying to see, it ought to be one stop to get a building permit and do everything you need. And that's the goal that I've tried to do for years, but the politics, this is our territory. That's just, for some reason, it doesn't happen in this county. So what you're asking us to do is right now, the county is doing these things outside the city limits. Is that right?
They're not doing the gas.
They're not doing the gas at all, and even residential's outside the city.
On our gas service only.
But they are doing the plumbing.
That's right, yeah. And they're permitting.
So what we're being asked to do is now take over the plumbing part of it too?
And here's how it typically go. No, the goal would, they would keep doing the plumbing, except if it's like a commercial building. We'd get involved.
That's already an agreement, so I don't see what anything's, I don't understand what's changing.
The agreement we approved last November, the county never adopted.
I'm not understanding what you're asking us to prove. If the county is already capable of doing both, but they're not, we are still doing the gas, and you're saying we're still doing the plumbing out in the county too for the water? They're doing it, but now you want us to do that.
Yeah, it's complicated right now. Right now, on the plumbing, there are 2 permits going on, and there have been 2 levels. I think Harold Joyce kind of worked on that. But an example of how this process would be, somebody's building a house in the county, it's got our water. They would do the county would do the plumbing permit. Right. And they ask them, are you on gas, city's gas? If they say yes, then they go, well, then you have to go to the city of Springfield to get your gas permit. If not, like if it's propane or electric, the county will do it.
Right. Well, all I see this doing is complicating it for somebody out in the county to have to go get 2 permits to get plumbing. Well, right now, it's already took care of.
Well, with this formal agreement, the only plumbing permit the city will do be non-residential or stuff requiring a backflow preventer. Your homes don't typically require that unless they got irrigation system.
That'd be the only. The county's currently doing commercial as well.
I would assume so, yeah.
So we're complicating it for at least the commercial customers because you're involving us with the plumbing part and then you're going to involve the residential part of it too.
On the plumbing, the only time we do any residential would be on the irrigation system. Because what you're talking about backflows is protecting the water system.
Why do we need to complicate this for the customers out in the county that they need to go get 2 permits where one's sufficing?
On the plumbing?
That's right.
They'll just get a permit through the county.
They're getting one from the county. But why do we need to complicate it for a customer in the county to seek 2 permits when one will do?
On the plumbing, the goal would be they would do the plumbing permit.
one of the confusing issues is the county is in inspecting, then they're out of inspecting. Then they got somebody who can inspect, and they haven't got somebody to inspect. So now they've got an organization established where they can do certain things. I think the plumbing thing comes down to, people are building houses, and normally, in the ideal situation, you get a building permit from somebody, and they do all the permits. But the issue is, in the interior plumbing is generally handled under building permit, which is the county's building permit. Now, we still want to be sure we are still responsible for our own water system, our own gas system. So we still want to make sure that the connections are proper and certain things are done. And on the gas component, well, we've always inspected it, and there's really no change here. Matter of fact, now the state has required that you have to have a certified mechanical inspector to inspect gas inside. So, and that's very dangerous. So we want to continue to do that. We want to have an interest in it because we're responsible for that water system, not the county. So if something is hooked up or something doesn't work right, we're accountable for it, not the county. All we're trying to do is create a little more of a convenience on the building code side of it, where they're inspecting a house, they can come in and get the interior plumbing and mark it good to go.
Presently, though, well, one of the differences with Springfield is a full-service city with its own utilities. The county has no utilities. So if White House Water is the provider out in the county, are they doing any inspections then of?
I don't know for sure. We
And
wouldn't be
Cedar
involved in
Hill
that.
would be another one?
That we wouldn't be involved in those, that's right.
Mayor, is there any reason why the county inspector currently is not competent to do this, that we need to inject our expertise into inspecting what
Well,
we're
yeah,
trying to do?
and the last time I met with them, they didn't feel comfortable doing the gas.
Well, I understand the gas. That's always been
But the
the way.
plumbing,
But
they
now
will
we're
do.
getting into the plumbing issue.
Yeah, they will do the plumbing.
Mark, what's going on?
The county's going to continue doing plumbing inspections in the county. We're just going to keep doing what we've been doing, and all the gas inspections in the county, we're going to do. And what Adam is doing is putting it on paper for everybody to know who's doing what.
Okay.
The county commissioner didn't feel comfortable with the county inspector doing gas inspections. They're okay with him doing the plumbing inspections. So the plumbing is going to stay with the county. The gas is going to be with us in the county. That's what the agreement is really about.
Yeah, because the non-residential portion of the county that's small. I mean, it's rare when it occurs. So we're trying to prevent two permits, because right now people are they're trying to do two gas, and it is something the county has worked with us on the gas, but we're trying to make it, that's one of the reasons to do this, to identify who's responsible and to make it easier for people. That was the goal.
And we're at this point because the county has not approved it with what we had recommended earlier. This is what you're saying, back in November.
Yeah, because that's the deal. We originally approved that they would do all of it, and that's what, kind of some issues came up. But then they, in talking to them, their staff, they prefer us to do the gas.
Well, this is new territory for the county. They weren't sufficiently staffed for a long time, and that's why we haven't really got to a point where we could resolve this comfortably until now.
All right, we got a motion and a second on this. Any further discussion? If you favor this, vote aye. If you oppose, vote no.
Craig. Hubbard.
Aye.
Sneed.
No.
Snyder. Carneal.
Aye.
Trotter.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Pass 6-1.
All right, 3.10 would be to discuss and possibly act with regard to the purchase of some equipment for the golf course. Paul, if you want to elaborate on that.
Thank you, Mayor. We had in the budget $64,000 for the purchase of 2 green mowers. And if you will look behind my memo, you will see that we've gotten quotes on state contract from Smith Turf and Irrigation. 2 green mowers, slightly different. One has a front full roller and one has a narrow wheel roller. And so they're almost exactly the same price, just a slight difference. And then that resulted in a savings. And as you know, we had winter kill on our grass last year. We don't know what it's going to look like this year, but the savings could be well applied to purchase a sod cutter and small trailer for a little bit more than what the difference is. And that would allow us to cut sod from for example, the back end of the driving range, and also from our practice green to repair places on the golf course. And of course, if we elected to do that, to spend the balance, there is also the equipment is less than $10,000. So Chet has included 3 proposals for that. And so the recommendation is that we ask the board to authorize the greens mowers purchased under state contract, and then to accept the lowest quote for a sod cutter with the difference.
All right, and the total previously approved was, what the budget was, $68,000?
$64,000.
$64,000. And this, with the other stuff added, would be how much?
Let's see, it would be, let me get back to my memo here. Okay, the greens rollers, the greens mowers themselves are $59,940.09. The sod cutter would be $6,829.
Okay.
Now, on the greens mowers, we were going to buy them on a note anyway, so there's no cash out this year. Principal and interest starts next year. So we'd simply change the amount from $64,000 to around $66,000.
Okay.
To get all 3 pieces of equipment.
All right. Do we have a motion yet on this?
So moved.
All right. Second. Discussion?
Yes, Mayor.
Yes, sir, Mr. Snead?
In the past, when we've bought new equipment it doesn't say here it's a replacement, it just says we're making a purchase, but then I assume we're replacing something?
Yes, sir. It is
We've
a
been told
replacement.
that the equipment was going to be put up as a surplus. I'd make a trip out there 3 months later, overhauling the motor on it. Now, that was previous management, not current management, but I don't want to go out there and see something like that happen again. If we're buying new equipment, I don't want to go out there and see them repairing or stuff still sitting out there.
I've gotten with Chet. We're going to have all the other mowers are useless. They really can't be used for anything other than parts. They need to be just moved, and we'll do that with, I think, ask Public Works assistants to help us out on that. Chet, did you want to say anything?
Yeah, the greens mowers that we're purchasing will be replacing the current greens mowers, which will be moved to tees. Those mowers will be moved to tees. The mowers we're currently mowing tees with they are 14 years old, I believe, and very insufficient. So those will kind of fall out of, there's 2 of them. One of them's still usable, the other one's more or less just going to fall out of service. We'll surplus it. But
Mr. Snead is correct. We do have a bunch of mowers in the back.
There's a bunch of stuff that needs to go to surplus right now.
We did declare them surplus so they can be taken off immediately.
Absolutely.
Any other questions of Chet? Thank you, sir. Appreciate what you all are doing. All right, we have a motion and a second that this be approved. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll call the roll.
Carnell.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Snead.
Aye.
Trotter.
Aye.
Snyder. Craig. Hubbard.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
All right, 311 would be to discuss and possibly act on a curbside recycling service offered through Green Village Recycling. Paul, do you want to make some statement on this?
Well, I think Alderman Schneider requested this be on the agenda, so I'll let her explain the situation.
Vice Mayor, Alderman,
Thank you, Mayor.
go ahead.
I was in a meeting this week or last week talking about this, and I think if we make people aware that we have this service, we can get more customers, and this will not go away. Right now, they only have 35 customers, and they need 200. And I have had requests from prior conversations with people in my ward, do we have this? And I think we need to make people aware. So if Margot could speak on this subject.
Okay. Ask our chamber director. Economic Development Officer, Margot Boswell.
That was pass around. The history behind this is, I guess it's 2 years ago now, our Leadership Robertson County class took on as a class project looking into recycling and increasing the opportunities for recycling in Robertson County. And several of the class members did some research and found Green Village Recycling over in Sumner County in Hendersonville. They were a company that had been in existence for about 2 or 3 years at that point. They agreed, at our invitation, they agreed to come into the Springfield market and offer residential recycling services to customers in Robertson County. The service is $20 a month. You get 2 curbside pickups and you get a bin, an 18-gallon bin. The chamber uses this service in our offices. I can attest to the fact that we have a huge reduction in the amount of garbage that is going to the landfill because of this service. It is single stream recycling, which is very easy to use. So you don't have to sort. You just put everything that's recyclable in the bin and they come and pick it up. I have Jason Stefano, who is the CEO of Green Village here, and I'd like to invite him to come up and he can tell you a little bit more about the company. But we promoted it a little bit at the time, signed up some customers. It's perfectly understandable that it is not a sustainable business model for them to come over here from Hendersonville for 35 households. And they have recommended that 200 households is the level that they would like to be at. They've given us a period of until June 1st to try to drum up some business.
Okay.
Thank you, Margot, and thank you, Mayor, Aldermen, and residents. Yeah, we were actually requested or asked several years ago to come up to the Springfield market from Hendersonville and Gallatin to provide the single-stream recycling service. We do provide service for seven counties throughout Middle Tennessee, largely for commercial businesses, and Gallatin and Hendersonville is our primary home market. We started providing the service here around 2013, and we picked up a small number of customers, and we made a determination based on the growth of what was occurring in the Nashville market and some of the areas in the Sumner County market that we had to determine if we can continue to offer the service. So we reached out to the chamber and let them know that our plans were potentially to stop running the service in the Springfield market, and they have been nice enough to ask us to reconsider that and work collectively to promote the service a little more in the market. We've actually looked to, I think it's June 31st, so May 1 through June 31st. 200 homes is not a large number. That's what we do on one truck on a single day, and we have 5 trucks working across multiple counties. We think a lot of the Springfield market, and we really want to support the area, and we'll do everything that we can to reduce the landfill materials going into the landfill, and it's been proven in all the other areas that we're in that we can help reduce landfill waste by up to 70% by recycling. We made it very simple. There's no sorting required. We're willing to work hand in hand with the chamber and try our very best to keep the recycling available in this community.
All right, board members, are there any questions you can have of this gentleman?
Okay, first of all, you provide the recycling container. And
yes,
what's the cost?
$20 on a monthly basis. That's 2 collections and an 18-gallon recycling bin.
2 pickups per month. Any questions at all? It's something that is needed in this area, and I do have people from time to time ask us, about it, and we realize there has to be a certain volume for it to be worth it economically. So if this can be promoted, and we're not in the business to promote one company, but you're here to offer it, and you're already here, it reduces our costs for the landfill and all that, so it could be a win-win for everybody. So we appreciate it.
We're not really asking for anything tonight. I just kind of wanted to make you aware of it because, as Ms. Snyder said, she's had constituents ask about it. I would like to have your help in spreading the word.
Yes.
And if there's a possibility that we could do something through electric bills or utility bills to make sure that people know that the service is available so that we can try to get the word out to the community during this period of time.
All right, we can look into those things as well.
And if I could add one other thing, we work closely with a lot of municipalities. We work in the Nashville market, Mayor Dean's office, Metropolitan Planning Commission. We know that the 10-year progression of growth in this market from now to 2025 involves about 1 million more people moving into the Nashville and surrounding area. Springfield will be the benefactor of a lot of the folks moving into this area. They are asking for services like this. We are a Middle Tennessee-based company, and we want to continue to grow and serve this community. We love this community, and we've been involved in it. And so we just appreciate your consideration.
Like right here. Thank you very much. All right, we move now to item 3.12, which is to discuss and possibly take action on the possible use of the remainder of the general fund portion of the 2013 bond proceeds. Paul, we have discussed this. Aldermen have been able to give us some guidance on it, and this is what the city manager has come forward with. Yes, I'm going to ask Paul to just go over this.
Okay, has everybody got the handout? As you know, we've had some brief discussions about how to expend the rest of the remaining funds. Your cover page is, you see you've got $407,567 that is technically still pledged to the animal control facility. I think the feeling of the board is that we need to revisit that. We have a balance in city sidewalks of $75,611, and we've committed to doing 3rd Avenue, portion of White Street, and portion of Oak Street until the money runs out. And so, just in the purpose of moving the discussion along, I've asked David Brewer and Adam McCormick to really explain some of the issues having to deal with the animal control facility. And you can see city requirements. It's just not a simple matter of just putting a building up. There are certain requirements that we have to meet our own standards to do so. And so, it is going to be a relatively expensive proposition. There are things we can do to modify, like the outdoor holding pens, the overflow pens, and other things to make the current situation a little better. But if the board chooses not to follow through and expend a lot of money on the animal control facility, I might suggest to you that on the next page, we have a number of items that we're going to wind up being in the budget to be either handled, most of them were to be handled under our future bond issue. They were small projects. We talked about the scoreboards at the last meeting as part of the soft drink vendor contract, and we were able to replace all the scoreboards at the playing fields, but the board kind of indicated that they might be interested in spending $10,000 out of the 2013 bonds for sports facilities. Also, there is a need for a restroom concession building at MLK Park. I believe there is a foundation poured for that already. It's Bermuda grass. We need to make sure that that's properly irrigated. The estimate for the restroom concession building is $70,000. The irrigation system at MLK Park, there are 2 soccer fields. It'd be about $40,000. There is a need at some point to remodel some of the baseball, softball fields at Travis Price Park. And if you have any questions on that, Tony can answer that. They're also looking at concreting around the dugouts at Travis Price Park. And originally on your front page, you see that we had internal trails and sidewalks for Travis Price Park that had to be really reallocated to other projects. So those are some suggestions that are consistent with what the bonds were sold for. So I'm not necessarily expecting any action from the board tonight, but by way of moving the discussion along about what are some eligible projects that you might be able to use the balance of the money for. And of course, sidewalks, you can allocate some of that $407,000 to sidewalks too. So that was already an expressed use of the bonds when they were sold. All right, so this list on the back page that
the park, most of this is under Parks and Rec, correct?
That's correct.
All right. And it would include the $10,000 for the scoreboards at the center, $70,000 for restroom, concession buildings, and, restroom and concession building at MLK soccer fields, $40,000 for an irrigation system at the soccer fields at MLK, remodeling the baseball and softball fields at Travis Price Park for $35,000, concrete around the dugouts at Travis Price Park, $55,000, and internal trails and sidewalks at Travis Price Park for $167,000, and all of those improvements would total $377,000, which is the major part of that money that remains from that bond issue. So these are some things to think of now as we move toward the budget, and there's no action required on that tonight. I want to reassure the people who are interested in improving the animal shelter. I drive by it often, talk to a lot of people who are interested in this, and had some nice notes and some just good conversations with people who are very, very interested in this. The board's frustration with this project has been simply that we were somewhat overwhelmed with the cost of that, with the original estimate being, David, what was it, 400 and something thousand or 500,000?
The original budget was 400,000, but
the bid came in at
700
or something thousand. Okay.
I would like to caveat that we did not do an opinion of probable costs on that. That it was best of staff, and obviously we guessed terribly incorrect.
And so, as I have talked with people, I said, you know, the board, I can't tell you how individual board members are going to vote, but I'm telling you that everybody that I've talked to is very interested in this project. They simply want it to be on a reasonable scale, and we realize, though, that our own requirements for commercial building, and that's what that falls under, it's not commerce exactly, but it is that's where it falls under the codes, requires that it has a decorative front, that it has the same type of thing down 50% of the side walls and those kind of things. So there are certain minimum standards that we've set that force us to spend more money on this than we might want to spend or think we've got to spend. But it's not going to go away. And there are a lot of animal lovers out there. And I think it's the right thing to do to try to do a much better job than we're doing in providing the facility. I'm pleased with the people who work there and the efforts they're making. Chief Thompson actually heads that area. It's under his jurisdiction. But we've got to take some action on that, and we don't need to wait forever to do it. It took us 10 years to get the library going, but with as many factors as we had working with that, the end of that has been a very beautiful project. The college didn't take as long, but David, you've worked on both of those and have done an excellent job of being the project engineer on both of those projects. And I'm confident that as we sit down and try to target this thing and get it settled as to exactly what the scope is going to be, that we can work this out in the future. And I think I speak for several of the members as well, although I'm authorized only to speak for me. All right. Let's,
some comments?
Yes, we have some comments.
Yes, you know,
you're usually not shy.
Well, I'm gonna be brief in my comments. No, I walked it inside and out. And to even be fair to the employees, it's too crowded. They don't have enough administrative. It's cold. Spaces to really store their feed. There is hardly none. Places to really treat the animals, there's hardly none. So, you know, we need to move. We need to move on it. We need to move on it. And as you was talking about the last time, we modified it. Yes, we definitely need to widen it and stuff. So let us consider that. We got two good employees up there, but we're not treating them fairly.
All right. Are there other comments? All right. Thank you. We are ready now to hear a discussion on, again, from codes. Mark Fields, are you presenting this one, or is Adam with the, some existing problems that we still have that we want to try to work through demolition-wise and so forth?
Mayor, let me start that out. I want it on the agenda, just by way of public information.
This, now, we're speaking of 313 now.
Some of the larger condemned buildings?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you, of course, boards are already aware of Bransford Gym, which that's our building we're responsible for. It is a condemned building, and we are seeking some ideas about what can be done, what the cost of money is going to be.
Quickly.
The whole project with possible, well, there's going to be some asbestos removal as well as demolition of the structure, so we're working on that. We do have a current condition with Church of the Nazarene. It's our understanding that they're going to work to try and the owner of that property is going to try and demolish that piece of property.
The new owner just took it over, so yes, they're going to target it.
So we'll see where that goes. We've got the Second Amendment Gun Shop, which is just past 9th Avenue before you get to the railroad track between 9th and 10th Avenue. That has had the middle portion collapse. We don't know what the owner's going to do on that, and it lies in a nice commercial area. If that were to be removed, that would create some commercial space, some new commercial space on that end of town, which would be needed.
On the west side of Main Street, between 9th and 10th, going toward Cheatham Street.
Yeah, this side of the railroad track.
And the old Woody's gas shop has already been remodeled, so it's been taken away from it.
So the only thing I want to say about that, if the owner doesn't tear it down, we're probably going to have to tear it down and deal with a lien issue at some point. And then the woolen mill, which is a huge problem. It is unsafe. It's been condemned for a while. And it sits pretty high on Main Street there overlooking Walnut Street? It is Walnut Street that comes down there. So if that were to collapse, that would be a problem. Now, the owner's been in there working on it. He has removed some of the building has collapsed. He's removed some of that. Somebody's gone in and just sought to remove it. It's a big problem. And I think the only reason we want to draw these to your attention is, these are issues that are potentially dangerous. They're going to have to be dealt with at some point, probably sooner than later. And unfortunately, some of this may have to be solved on our nickel. But with several of these projects, we could put some good commercial area into play, maybe on North Main Street, possibly some mixed use down there, because as you know, a gentleman did fix up a building for residential lofts and having businesses below, and he's still in the picture, as far as we know. So this is really just by way of information, just to tell you that we're going to have to deal with these at some point in the fairly near future. And if you have any questions about any of that, I'm sure Mark and Adam would be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of the planning staff?
One thing that I want to throw around, talking about the old woolen mill area, I would love to see the same concept that has been taken with that Wortham deal on Rosa Parks Boulevard in Nashville. Have mixed condos, apartments, and little quaint shops and stuff. And if you really just envision that's a really nice area, for something like that.
So there are a lot of opportunities here for some areas to be redeveloped. But I do want to commend the codes department for the way you all have been working vigorously to remove the blight in this city. It helps with the crime rate. It helps with a whole lot of other things, with the beauty of the city itself. This is a never-ending process, and it will never change from that, because you'll clean up 3 areas, and there'll be 4 more that pop up that need some work. But it's something we have to be very vigorous about and very intentional. So I appreciate what you're doing in that regard. I'm going to declare a 5-minute recess at this point, and we'll come back at 7:20.
Yeah.
Then you get your alarm system.
All right, as we reconvene, about 7:24. We're on item 3.14. And I'm going to ask Paul to make some comments on this.
Okay, we have been involved with some discussions pertaining to the Kroger expansion, and they had some inquiries about economic incentives, and some of the things that were talked about, I just need to say that can't be done under Tennessee state law, so we can skip all of that discussion and get right to the point by way of information that you do have a, say, did you get a chance to, did you ever get a copy of this letter from Mike Bashir? We need to
Springfield
pass it down.
Industrial Board, and I think it stopped right here.
So we can just pass those down.
You got it back right.
Yeah, we're good on this. And of course, the board is approving a pilot agreement with them, subject to certain conditions, which are explained in the letter, which is standard. We've got a new policy, new options with regard to pilot programs. This will be the first retail commercial pilot given. But of course, the nice thing, all the additional sales and everything will result in additional sales tax. So this is really just by way of information to let you know that we haven't heard any more pursuit of the request for additional economic incentives as of this date. We have committed, the industrial board has, Springfield Industrial Board has committed to the pilot program, which means the Robertson County Industrial Board, the Economic Development Board, will be doing the same thing. So that's where it stands. So we hope things will move forward from here.
All right, thank you for that update.
What does this mean, Paul?
Well, what they're going to do, they will abate the taxes in some years. The property, real estate taxes and the property taxes. And you see they're going to abate, let me see, it says here. Real property taxes on the new facilities would be abated at 100% for the first 5 years, 90% in year 6, and 80% in year 7, as long as the company continues their qualified participation under the Industrial Bond Act. Personal property taxes on additional equipment and machinery would be abated at 100% for 3 years.
And what is Project Firebird?
Well, that's just I guess the code name for the project. Kroger. Expansion. Yes, sir.
So this has been approved by the Springfield Industrial Development Board.
What they're doing with this is, I see it, this creates quite a few new jobs. And so the same standard that is created for industrial jobs is moving over to the retail sector, so what it appears to be.
Okay.
But it is an investment.
Just for the record, Kroger made $1.7 billion with a B in 2014.
I guess they figure it doesn't hurt to ask. All right, we move now to item 3.15. That's to discuss and possibly take action on authorizing wireless internet companies to attach equipment to city-owned water tanks. Paul, I want you to explain that.
Okay, this has been an issue in our county for quite a few years. We have areas of the county that cannot receive internet service because the major service providers cannot make it, or cannot or will not, it's not economically feasible for them to serve certain portions of the county. So for years, I know the Chamber's been involved in this, trying to find some companies that were willing to use wireless technology to give access to people that presently aren't being served. And we've had a few companies, Margot, and I can't figure out how many, at least one or two probably, that came in and kind of looked like they could promise that they could do something, and it worked out that they really couldn't. So after a few years, we did have a company step forward, Fastnet Wireless, and they've been in discussions with the city for a few years. But we also have other interest on it. I know Neil Peterson, he's interested in providing the service as well through his company, Lightning Broadcasting. And so we're fortunate now that we've got some people that want to provide the service. But the critical element of this is they have to have places that are high enough. I think it's line of sight for the most part. I may be wrong. But they need something that's fairly high up. Water towers are beautiful places to mount the equipment. We weren't really familiar with the equipment, exactly what was going to go on the tower until this week. And so, we're not seeking to exclude anybody. We're not seeking to have a formal franchise or exclusive franchise. There's such a need for the service. I think we're just trying to see if, from an altruistic standpoint, if we can offer some leasing space on our water towers, just so long as it doesn't impact the operation of the tower and the maintenance of the towers. And it apparently does not. So we need to talk about, ground rules. First of all, do you want to do this? And second of all, because Fastnet was first out of the gate, and they've been serving customers in Kentucky for a few years now.
Where in Kentucky?
Simpson County and a few other counties, please.
Yes, we have,
Simpson County.
Right.
I finally get to meet you guys. We started about 6 years ago. I come from a long line of technical geeks. We had offices out in the county, and we needed high-speed internet, not available. Empty promises of Bell South, AT&T saying, we're coming, get people to call in. We tell our neighbors, call them. After a couple of years, we had a tower site from a previous two-way radio business that we go, okay, let's build our own infrastructure, make our own internet, and we'll put a few of our neighbors on around to help pay for that infrastructure. It's quite costly. We did that, and our phones haven't stopped ringing since. We have since let go of all the other businesses, from remote camera systems and computer systems to doing just this. We're now in 11 counties. We have several thousand people using our internet. We just finished up, I've been working in this county for, trying to get my foot in the door down here for about a year, I guess. And we've got a couple of small sites down here that we have a handful of subscribers on. But we have just completed a grant that two counties in Kentucky got, Lyon County and Caldwell County. It was a $250,000 grant, and it was awarded to us, but we had to match it dollar for dollar. And we're on the last phase of that, and we're actually paying $2 on top of the dollar. So we put a lot of money in this, and I'm saying that to let you know that just water tanks is not where we stop. And that's one reason we got that grant, because we reassured them we're going to keep building long after that grant is gone. We have a lot of other sites besides just water tanks. Water tanks are just a basic skeleton. Then we start filling in with microcells and smaller structures. We've been doing it for, like I say, 6 years now, and
there's a lot of happy people that are using it. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Yeah.
Okay. Go ahead, James.
One thing that I'm glad to hear that you're in the business, because I am sick and tired of that bully Comcast. And most of our citizens can't afford it. They think they got everything locked down internet-wise in Springfield, so it needs some competition, okay? And people out in the county in Robertson County, so, you know, something like you, yes, is welcome. Because I'm pretty sure that you'll be issuing an affordable service.
Absolutely.
See, where their internets are just outrageous.
Well, my dad taught us that if you provide a service that people want, you don't have to worry so much about what you want. And that's one of the things we did. Our foundation was based on the fact that, number one, we don't make people sign a contract. We're thinking, why have a contract? You know, if you don't like us, we don't want you married to us. You know, and if you lose a job or you have a medical emergency, we don't want you bound to something that you no longer can afford. People like that. And another thing we do is we don't put data caps. Your satellite companies, a lot of times is a 10 gig data cap. Use it as much as you want, no surprises. We have people doing in one day what some of the satellite companies are maxing people out in a month. And we also have our engineering department actually sits on the research and development out in California of the makers of this type of equipment. So we get to be some of the first in the nation to get the new stuff that's coming out. We were actually one of the first that was able to do a wireless microwave shot faster than a strand of fiber, and we use that a lot now.
Well, we appreciate your presentation, and I do, now, are you actually, I know the counties you were talking to, you said you were in, what, 11 counties in Kentucky now?
Yes, sir.
You're working down Princeton and down
Princeton,
Eddyville, down that way with those two counties that you
right.
mentioned, Lyon and Caldwell. Now, are you headquartered, though, in Simpson County?
Yes, sir, in Franklin.
Okay, in Franklin. Well, we appreciate this, and we're going to move forward on this in just a moment. Then.
Okay, thank you for your consideration. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
I have a question for you, sir.
I think he's got, excuse me.
What was your name?
Bruce Powell.
Bruce Powell?
Yes, sir.
I was looking at your website. You said that you don't charge on data, but I see you've got it priced in increments on the speed. So that's how you've got incremental packages.
Yes, as a matter of fact, we need to update that site. We have recently boosted the speeds without raising the cost. You can double the speeds on there. As we grow, we get our bandwidth cheaper, so we just pass that along to the customer.
Right now I'm looking at 8 megabytes, which is not a whole lot for speed, I mean, compared to most of the wireless, and that's $100. Is that,
well,
say that?
To watch a high definition video, it takes about 3 meg. If you've got 2 or 3 users in the home, you would probably need 6 to 8 meg. And right now, like in Lyon and Caldwell, that's another one that we have just raised the bandwidth without the price. So over there, it's $54.95 for 8 meg. On this side right now, it's 6 meg for the same price, but we're going to be raising that pretty soon.
Okay, now that was what I quoted as residential. It doesn't say what the commercial is. I guess commercials, by contract.
Yeah, we can offer up to 30 meg packages if you want them. We have several commercial accounts. Kentucky Downs, who y'all may know of, everything they have, including all the machines and banking machines, all runs off of our internet. We have factories and
right. So your biggest competitor would be who? HughesNet?
Yeah, HughesNet. We're mainly, our goal is where there's either unserved or underserved markets. We're not concentrating in the cities where there's bigger companies, although we're getting pulled in that way because a lot of times they're not getting it done.
From the pocketbooks of our citizens can't afford to.
Yeah.
Well, we thank you, Mr. Powell.
Okay.
Now, this item, 3.15, as you've read, is to discuss and possibly take action on authorizing wireless internet companies to attach equipment to city-owned water tanks. Now, if you turn to the next page, you've got 3.16, which discuss and possibly take action on approving such an attachment with this company, Fastnet. Also been approached by Mr. Neil Peterson, the owner of a local radio station, who is pursuing this type of business as well. And Neil, if you don't mind coming to the podium and just tell our board members, introducing the gentleman with you, and tell us what you have to offer.
Thank you. I'm Neil Peterson. I own WSGI and WDB. I'd like to introduce Dale Howard. Dale's a broadcast engineer. He's been in broadcast engineering in Middle Tennessee for about 40 years. He is currently doing a similar project in Dixon. It's up and running, doing basically the same thing as we're proposing to do. Everything that Mr. Powell said applies to us pretty much. I won't go, feature for feature. The one thing I would like to add is that I was on the technology committee at the chamber that was working to find providers. And we talked to Fastnet, I would say, I haven't got the dates, I didn't research it, but close to 2 years ago, and they said they were coming. And a lot of people were counting on that and called them, and then nothing happened except for a couple of pockets out in Cross Plains. We are ready to rock and roll. We're ready to order equipment. We're ready to start building out. We would like access to the tanks. And the only other thing I would add in terms of what we would like to do, because we are also wanting to serve the community in some areas that are not being served. There is a large customer base of people who, or potential customer base of people who really can't afford internet. I have spoken with Mike Davis, schools director, who will help us to vet folks who do not have internet. We will offer the entry-level speed at half price, about $25 a month. In fact, I was just talking to someone this evening who said there are a lot of kids out there on, what's the term I'm looking for? Virtual schools who can't get internet at home. They're being virtually schooled, and that's good for them. There are some kids who don't do well in the classroom, but are being virtually schooled. Now, I'm not talking about homeschool, I'm talking about virtual schools, who are at a disadvantage. So if you have any questions, I'd also, if you don't mind, if Margot could speak to the need, probably you're going to hear nothing too new, but she's very eloquent.
I'll just echo what's been said. We've been working on this as a chamber committee for years. We have lots of underserved areas in the county. We have areas mostly north, the Adams Cedar Hill across 431 and Orlandis Cross Plains. But there's also a pretty good pocket down at 431 that the new water tower would get. I think the Fields and the Marshalls are among those that are not served. Comcast and Charter simply won't go there, and neither will AT&T. I myself, I'm halfway between Springfield and Cross Plains. I had nothing available to me other than HughesNet or Dish satellites, which are very unreliable in bad weather and very expensive and not really very good service. All I'll have available to me was a Verizon hotspot. I happen to be one of the ones that's being served by Fastnet now. I'm paying $35 a month. I can stream Netflix videos. That's a luxury I thought I would never have. From an economic development standpoint, it's very important. There's a lot of entrepreneurs that want to work from home that need reliable internet. There's a lot of kids going to school in high school that need to get on the internet at night. There's a lot of kids going to college at Ball State and Austin Peay that need to get on the internet at night or at home, and they don't have reliable service. And what's becoming more and more of an issue is it's a real estate issue. If you have a house in a place that is not served with broadband internet, good luck selling it. So I hope we can do whatever we can to encourage as many providers as possible in this community.
All right. Are there any questions of Ms. Peterson and Mr. Howard?
You hit on the affordability and the need of underserved. People just cannot afford it. I'm talking about citizens of Springfield.
I'm sorry, Mr. Hubbard, I am hearing challenged and I'm not hearing you.
We have a lot of underserved people who cannot afford the Comcast situation. That's what we're talking about here in town, and a lot of our students. So you really hit the point about the need for educational purposes.
That was one of the first things that came to my mind when I started talking to Dale about this project, is doing a half-price entry level for families on free and reduced lunch. And we know there's a lot of them out there.
Oh, very much so.
All right. Well, we appreciate it, gentlemen, and I want... yes.
Mayor, I just wanted to say, the reason that we are doing this now is because we have been waiting and waiting for all these other companies. And like Neil's been on the technology committee, and I just want to stress that we are doing it primarily for Robertson County and want to do it immediately. I just wanted to share that.
I understand. Thank you. All right, now, let's, I'm going to get you, Clay, but now, Paul, are we ready tonight? I mean, here we've got two interested parties. Now, 315, were you expecting action on 315 or just on 316?
I'm expecting action on both. And
what's the difference?
Okay, the difference on 315, first of all, are you going to allow companies providing internet, wireless internet, to attach to your water towers?
Okay.
Question number one, which I think is great. We're not looking for exclusive providers. We want to have the service and we want it to be competitive. I could care less who goes on the towers or how many there are, just so long as it doesn't get to be a problem for water, wastewater. The second thing with regard to Fastnet is totally their own problem. We have a lot of priorities here that actually had to take some attention above internet. So it's not entirely Mr. Powell's fault that we didn't get this worked out. We've been talking with him since last summer, and so there's some things that did have to be worked out genuinely. But I think he's earnest and he's first in the door. He was earnest, and the fact is he's asking our permission to use something that we own and we have control of, and we have to come up with a contract that I think one of the other ground rules is we've gone to a lot of effort to negotiate a contract with Fastnet that will work with all other companies. And my suggestion is, if we approve agreement with Fastnet, that becomes the contract for everybody. And it is a lease. We're not giving a franchise. This is a strict lease. And under Fastnet's contract, they will pay to us and anybody, I would suggest whether it's one company, two companies, or five companies, that they be under the same lease agreement and that they pay the same for the lease, which is 2% of all the revenue generated from that site. Customers that take service from that site, or $100 a month, whichever is more. And so, two questions. Just, are we going to allow people, companies, to access our water towers? And are we going to require them to execute the same lease agreement with the city?
How many companies can use it at a time? That's what I'm talking about.
Well, I don't think you're going to have, it's taken us a long time to get two in the picture, so I don't think once they start providing service, you're going to have a lot of companies try to chime in. We're just going to have to wait and see if it becomes an inconvenience. We might at some point have to tell folks, you know what? We just don't have any more room. We can't accommodate you. We'd like to, but we can't for whatever reason. But I'm fine with how many companies want to come in. The technology looks like it's fairly easy to attach to the water tanks. I don't think, Roger, have you seen anything that causes you any concern from what you've been told this week? And so, so my only two suggestions is, my recommendation is to allow them to attach to water tanks and to execute a standard agreement that we have developed with Fastnet.
All right, Clay, you have something.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, as so many times in the past, we're presented with a contract that, from my interpretation, what I've read since we got this just a couple of days ago, doesn't give us much time to look at it. No one on this board is a lawyer, but it looks like it, you know, I'm looking at it, it's a 5-year lease, automatic renewals for 3 renewals. That's a 20-year lease. If we have to give them a 1-year advance notice if we want to get out of this. They're going to use our electricity. We're getting 2% or a minimum of $100. I don't know what, how we're pumping out internet services. How much electricity is that going to cost? We got to carry $1 million insurance policy. They're going to have a $1 million insurance policy. I'm just tired of getting in contracts that don't look like it's in our interest. Now, did a contract attorney look over this, or did our city attorney review this?
Yes.
This was what you would recommend if you were going to contract with this company yourself?
Yes.
You know, there is a bit of altruism. Yeah, there'll probably be some electricity cost. I don't know how exactly it's set up. But there's a little bit of altruism here too. We're trying to provide some service to not only the residents of Springfield that don't have options, but residents of Robertson County. So it's not all about the money. It's not all about what the lease cost is. There'll be a point where maybe we have to do some minor regulation about the use of the facility, but we have control over the lease of our facilities. And the only thing, I just think it's fair that if we go to the trouble of negotiating the contract, and Mr. Peterson was kind enough to give us another contract to look at, it covers the same amount of ground. It's maybe a little briefer, but I don't want a brief contract. I want one with more detail, but it's basically the same type of things that are covered. We have $1 million in insurance on the tank anyway. They have to provide the insurance, you know, that is equivalent to what we carry.
Okay, we've got one contract. Right now, let's just deal with this 3.15. We don't have any motions or anything at this point. All right, does anyone care to make a motion on item 3.15?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion now?
Yes, Mayor.
Go ahead, Mr. Sneed.
I move that we defer this until a contract attorney looks at these. We retain a contract attorney to look over these, this lease agreement.
An attorney who specializes in contracts?
I don't like this lease. I don't mind them doing it, but I want the lease in our favor for one.
Is there a second to Mr. Sneed's motion? It fails. Back on the main, is there a motion now that that this be dealt with tonight? Ms. Powell, we're through with the conversations with public. I'm sorry. Everybody's been had a chance to be heard. Anyone care to move? We have a motion and a second. Okay. We're ready to go on it then. Anything further? This would allow us to allow various companies to use our facilities as to convey these messages, etc. Okay.
Subject to the
Subject
lease
to our
we
approval.
present.
Okay. All right. We're not approving it for any one company on this. That comes later. All right. Vote your preference.
Gregg?
Aye.
Hubbard?
Aye.
Sneed?
No.
Snyder?
Aye.
Carneal?
Aye.
Trotter?
Aye.
Head?
Yes.
Pass 6-1.
All right. Now we're going to move to 3.16. Discuss and possibly take action on approving the water tank attachment lease agreement with Fastnet. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Mr. Crosby?
Does Mr. Peterson, is he in agreement with this contract? I mean, does he have a problem with it?
Bobby, I think what we better do on this is to allow Mr. Peterson to make his own case as he has to present us with a contract and deal with, rather than get his opinion on this other.
I misunderstood. I thought you said you wanted everyone who was.
Well, what we're doing with the first one was to say we will allow this to happen, that we will allow companies, period, to attach to our facility, okay, without specifying a particular one. This one, item 3.16, is specific to Fastnet. It does not exclude Mr. Peterson.
Oh, okay, I thought you were saying
it's approving them, but it's not excluding Mr. Peterson.
I'm positive that Mr. Peterson would like action taken on a contract at the next available opportunity, and we will work with him to do that.
Just want to be fair.
It's going to look, yeah, it's going to look like.
That's the reason I let him speak, so we would be fair. All right, but this particular one that was presented to us on this agenda is pertinent to Fastnet only. And we've had a motion and a second. Anything further on this?
It's an order.
All right, call the roll.
I think Roger had something. So I could, did you have something?
I had a meeting Friday morning with Mike Calvin, who is the engineer for Fastnet. There were a number of issues that we addressed, some things that the contract was not explicit on. I want to make very sure that our water tank, our Tom Austin water tank, was protected, that the water inside was not going to be compromised, that the tank would not be damaged itself. What you see on page 11 basically are all of the details that we derived during this meeting on Friday morning. Mr. Sneed made comment about us providing electricity, and that is true. They have to have a certain amount of electricity. We have, the Tom Austin tank is called a composite tank. It is sitting on about 700 cubic yards of concrete. There are solid concrete walls that go up to the steel bowl of the tank itself. There are 3 conduits that go from the outside into the middle of into the interior of the tank. 2 of them are being used. One of them is a spare conduit that we would like to keep spare as long as we could. The option for Fastnet were to either have a electric meter on the outside and run wire to the inside and go up to the top of the tank. The other option was for them to use a spare 15 amp fuse in our circuit box in there. Their monthly costs are about $4 a month to run a similar equipment in other places where they have equipment. They are going to, according to this, they're going to be paying us $10 a month to defray the cost of us providing electricity through that 15 amp fuse or circuit breaker. They will not be given keys to the tank that they will not be able to get into without our permission. They will not climb unless they have people who are certified in climbing ladders. So we're trying to take every step we can to be protective of our equipment, but still allow them to attach their equipment. Now they're going to have 8 antennas, 2 facing north, 2 east, 2 south, and 2 west. They're going to have 2 parabolic dishes to receive signals and then send them out. We talked about the number of wires and how they're going to get down to the bottom of the column. The original intent was to have wires from each of these antennas come together and then go through a rather large hole that had to be drilled in the side of the tube that go down to the middle of the tank. As opposed to these 10 wires, the 8 antenna and the 2 receptors, they're now going to have 2 wires. One of them's going to be fiber optic and the other is going to be a power cable. So instead of a 1-inch hole, it's going to be about a 3/4 inch hole. These are going to go down. They'll be attached to the struts that attach the ladders to the wall of the column, so that the wires are going to be out of the way, so that we won't have any trouble when we climb the ladders. So we try to be very protective of what's going on.
So you are satisfied then that the requirements that this company needs, that we are protected in this, just
Yes,
as our
sir.
attorney said that we are protected?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Mayor, can I make a comment?
Yes, sir.
About that. This is the first I heard about the resale of electricity, there is a clause in the TVA power contract against the resale of electricity through a third party. Now, if it sounds like to me the cleanest way to do would be for them to have a separate meter as a separate entity, and just pay a bill and have be a separate service attached to that tower. But if you're providing electricity through his meter, through the water company's meter, and then you're attaching a fee on top of that, that could be construed as a resale of electricity through the TVA power contract. I could look into that more, but I think the cleaner way to do it would probably be to have a separate meter.
You just presented something that probably nobody else had thought of.
Yeah.
Gives us reason to Mr. Sneed wasn't all wrong on this. I don't think we've had this long enough before us. I know people have been waiting for this for a long time, but I think we need to hear it. I don't think we're ready for it tonight.
Well, this is the first I'd heard about is providing electricity. I thought, they'd have.
And I don't mean wait 6 months. I mean we need to be ready for it the next time we meet.
Mr. Mayor, could we
And that's
defer this
just
to next month?
You made a motion to defer. You want to make it as a motion?
I'm making a motion to defer it until the May's meeting.
Is there a second? Is there a second to second?
I didn't hear the second.
Mr. Astor. All right. Those who would, is there any discussion? Oh, that doesn't require discussion, I don't think. Those who would favor the deferral, vote aye when your name is called. If you're opposed to the deferral and want to act on it tonight, vote no.
Trotter.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Carneal.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Gregg.
Aye.
Snyder. Aye. Pass 7-0.
All right, takes care of it. 3.17 is a proposal from American Engineers for the survey and geotechnical services at 2 proposed sites for the wastewater holding tanks. And this contract is $28,886. You recommend this, Mr. Lemasters?
Yes, sir.
All right. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion of that? Call the roll, please.
Snyder. Aye. Carneal.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Trotter.
Aye.
Gregg.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
All right. 3.18 is to discuss and possibly act on the bid award for contract 3A of our sewer rehab program. Mr. Lemasters,
Yes, sir.
are you ready to go on that?
Yes, sir.
All right. Is there a motion then on that?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Head.
Yes.
Carneal.
Aye.
Snyder. Aye. Trotter.
Aye.
Hubbard.
Aye.
Gregg.
Aye.
Sneed.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
All right. Now, Mr. Lemasters, your report, please.
Contract 2A is moving along. They had a significant amount of cured in place pipe to do, and they've nearly completed all of that. They're still lacking a lot of lateral work, sewer laterals from the main over to the property line. They have not really started on manholes yet, so they are moving along. That's contract 2A. Contract 2B, they've just gotten started on that. They're doing a lot of closed circuit TV work to find out what the interior of the pipes look like. So, but they are moving along. We are having a 2 different progress meetings this coming Thursday. Contract 2A progress meeting and contract 2B progress meeting. We are in the process, and the advertisement is out for contract 3A. We'll be taking bids on Friday, May 8th. I'm sorry, 3B. We're taking 3B on May. This is for 3A, but contract 3B, we're taking bids on May 8th.
All right. Any questions of Mr. Lemasters? Thank you very much. I'm going to call now. We were to receive the police department's report. I have asked Chief Thompson, the hour is getting late for the police department and what they're proposing, et cetera, as they move forward is a little too important for me to try to take that on tonight with the length of the time we have been here. he does want, Chief Thompson does want to go ahead and speak about animal control, and we'll receive the rest of the report at our next meeting. Chief, you want us to get out of the way?
When we get the screen down, it will be good to go. As you know, this is about animal care and control. It's reported from last year. It's a short presentation, but I'm going to hit some highlights for you. First of all, we made a lot of changes in 2013. We altered the way animal care and control does business in a lot of different ways. You elected officials were a part of that as well as staff, so we appreciate you. Before 2013, the kennels were frequently at capacity. Animals were being euthanized weekly. Averaging 629 animals a year were being euthanized. Okay, that's a couple a day. Animal control is a disposal system for unwanted animals. Somebody didn't want an animal, they brought it up there and took care of it. That was sort of the way they dispose of animals. An average of 19 animals a year were adopted through rescue organizations. So we really weren't doing a whole lot there as far as using that resource. And virtually no social media was being used. Well, we've changed those factors today. Some of our goals that we set, as a matter of fact, were to reduce the euthanasia rate, increase the adoptions, use social media, use foster care, where you actually have people come in and adopt the animals, just temporarily take care of them until you can find an owner, better care for the animals, and increase spay and neuter. So those were all goals that we adopted. In 2014, we took in a total of 543 animals. 100 of those were either deceased. We also picked them up if they're dead on the highways and stuff like that too. That's what we took in during 2014. We adopted out 322 to rescues. We worked with the pit bull rescues and every other kind of rescue in town, whatever we can do to find a place for the animals. Even the ones that are sick and they have parvo, we find rescues that will pick these animals up and treat them. Return to owner 27 last year, adopted from the kennel 83. Now we do require the spay and neuter. We also require all the inoculations for rabies and various types of other things. We collected a total of about $9,300 last year to help defray those costs for adoptions and all. And for the entire year of 2014, we euthanized a total of 14 animals. So you see it. It's a really dramatic reduction there. Part of that was the guidance from the elected officials. Part of it was from our staff. But there have been a lot of changes made. When we talk about how many complaints and all we receive, we don't just count phone calls anymore to say, oh, we got 3,000 calls last year. It doesn't really tell you what we're doing. These are calls that actually require us to go out to the scene and talk to people. 289, lost and found 120, which, by the way, we post all these things on social media. We post them on a pet finder. We post them on Facebook pages. My daughter actually created a Facebook page just for animal control where she volunteers her services there. Dog bites, we had a total of 19. Referrals to the county, we had a total of 11. Shelter today is rarely at capacity. This is something where the councilman brought up previously. It is rarely at capacity today. The rescues and foster care provide a lot of relief there. Number of incoming animals was reduced greatly. Euthanasia has become a last resort, typically used for ill or aggressive animals. Social media and partnerships have greatly increased the preservation of lives. And what do we need? These are the things that are the most efficient today. One is security. We've had animals stolen from the facilities there. It's just a problem. We need video. We need some security. We need some some basics there on the site, because I think it's recently, just a couple of weeks ago, we had animals stolen again. Usually they're pit bulls, but we have that happen occasionally. We need additional coverage at the overflow pens. Right now, half of the overflow, which is up on the hill, half of that overflow has areas that shield them from snow and rain and heat and that sort of thing. The other half does not. We could add another 10 or 12 cages just that quickly if we just added some shelter to the other side. Replace fencing with rusted interior. If you go up there, you know what I'm talking about there. Offices for staff. The facilities right now really are not good to put human beings in. They're loud, they're smelly, there are a lot of issues. They're hot, they're cold when they're supposed to be hot, they're hot when they're supposed to be cold. There are a lot of good reasons. And we need space for adoptive parents and animals to interact. When people come to the facility, they want to volunteer, they want to see animals and do that sort of thing. It's just not very conducive to that type of environment. So these are some of the things that I would list as needs today as far as animal control. And with that pretty much is it. Open to questions. I can answer questions tonight or whenever you get around to that, whatever's best for everyone here.
I need to make a comment, Mr. Mayor. I'll put this out real quick.
Go ahead, just like.
On the Greenway really was designed for humans first, and we have some people who's abusing it with their pets, bringing as many as 12 pets on the Greenway, and that can be really dangerous. So I want our pet owners to just limit it to probably 1 or 2 where you can control them, and also the muzzle for those who will bite us, okay? Because I'm out there 4 times a week, and I see a lot of violations of it. Okay.
All right, we'll be hearing from Chief Thompson's full report next time. Thank you.
Thank you,
David. All right, the consent portion of the agenda, is there a motion?
Move to accept the total consent.
Okay. Call the roll, please.
Carneal.
Aye.
Head.
Yes.
Sneed.
Aye.
Trotter. Snyder. Craig. Hubbard.
Aye.
Pass 7-0.
All right. Mr. City Manager, do you have anything before we adjourn?
I do, Mayor. A couple of things. Want to remind the board members, if you could, take a look at some of the information we have on the department head webpage. Want to have some information from all the elected officials, so people get to know a little bit about you, how long you've been in office, maybe a little something about what your career is, whatever you think you'd like the public to know, just a little bit about you, so we can put it on the website. Talked to Mr. Trotter a couple weeks ago, and Mr. Trotter brought up the point that, is it possible to have fishing at George Gunn Lake out in Travis Price Park? Right now, we don't allow it. I'm not quite sure what the reason is, other than I'm not sure it produces a lot of fish. But right now, we do not allow fishing. I think what we're just investigating right now whether there's a way to facilitate that. And I think Tony wants to be very clear that if at some point we do allow that, we get something worked out where we get the lake stocked, want to keep the lake area clean, when they fish. So just want to let you know that we're kind of looking at that right now. Also, the water treatment plant sludge basin sinkhole has been repaired as far as being filled in, but they still have to put the underline in, the liner, and before they can reconstruct the concrete sludge basin itself. Also, this year, just like we did in 2013, we discounted gas fees during the winter heating months, and so we were aiming at $1 million. We went a little over it, but we gave everybody total a discount of $1,034,531.29. It's not an exact science. We try to guess what the rate's got to be for that month to hit the goal. Residential customers saved, were given discounts equivalent to $929,000. $728.70. Small commercial, we're given discounts equivalent of $104,802.59. Also, I have received some information from the high school, the moot court team. I think is competing nationally.
Yes,
and
North Carolina.
And I know that they're seeking some funding for that. So I did receive some correspondence about that, and I want to let you know that. And then Mr. Hubbard has been serving for a long time on the Community Development Board for National League of Cities, which I have to tell you, it's an honor to have a representative from our city on one of these national committees. And Mr. Hubbard, I think you've got a new assignment, and will require you to attend a few meetings at different parts of the nation. So
we appreciate your service to that, James, because it does carry over to bring back a lot of information here that pertaining to problems and challenges, et cetera, that we have here, and plus success stories here. Appreciate your attention tonight. We had a lot to discuss, and I think there was good discussion on some very interesting and very important topics. And we'll be getting into the budget pretty soon, and one or two extra meetings will be required, so we'll keep you posted on all of that. And if there's nothing else, we stand adjourned.